What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Some Twitter drama went down, and normally I don't care about this, but I did find this kind of interesting. I'm going to try to give the abridged version, the simplified, and we're just going to kind of roll through it and see what happened. So I don't know if you know who the DuelLinksMeta is. It's just this guy. He's a streamer, and he makes kind of like Team Samurai level content, is like how I see it. It's supposed to appeal to the most amount of people. You know, they hype up like Blue Eyes, like this Blue Eyes deck is the greatest thing ever, and all that. Like that's kind of his content. In any case, some stuff went down. He talked about cheating, and that's okay. I'll start there. At the end of a 30-minute discussion on a card ruling, I quickly use a bad example that goes against the TCG policy while trying to move on as top 16 began. It was clipped from a private 7-hour VOD tourney, Master Duel tourney VOD, and then blown out of proportion for content. And then he's okay. Well, we'll start there because this is where it starts to go downhill. Here's the crux of the whole issue. So he was talking about in the video Fateful Adventure. Like there's two effects. Like there's the effect that on summon, you get to search the equip spell. Cool. There's also the effect that you could say effect, and then you get to search, Wandering Griffin Rider usually, and then you have to discard a card. So two separate ones. One's a trigger effect, and one is like an activated effect on the field, all that kind of junk. And he's saying like, oh, you normal something, and then you say effect of Fateful Adventure, and then you grab Griffin. And he's like, oh, well, you didn't, and the opponent's obviously you'd be like, oh, I thought you were talking about grabbing the field spell. Like, I would have asked that. And he's like, no, I already picked up my deck. Like, that's it. Like, that's the whole issue. And that's definitely wrong because as a lot of people on Twitter and everybody has explained, and really if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, like trigger effects, you have to declare, basically. It's like there's this own stage for trigger effects within the complexity of the Yu-Gi-Oh game. So obviously you have to like tell your opponent like, oh, I'm doing this. Now it kind of is on your opponent to say like, oh, what effect of Fateful are you using? But at the same time, like you're definitely, that's cheating, kind of. I mean, that's not the most egregious thing. It's not like he's grabbing the right card out of frame like we've seen like in other tournaments. I think somebody cheated and won like the first remote duel YCS. Say they're grabbing cards off screen. Like this is a little more subtle, but it is definitely wrong. And that's basically where the problem is. So instead of like going through like Distant Coder found the thing during stream, and he talked about like, oh, like this is why it's wrong, and you can watch that video on Twitter. He broke that down. So instead of the DuelLinksMeta dude coming back and being like, oh yeah, that was wrong of me to say probably, he basically says this. And okay, I talked about that. Like that was what I talked about in the beginning of the video. And then he says legally cheat in Master Duel, not TCG. Like, okay, like that's just not good, like to hear, right? But okay, this is where it gets like down in the gutters. So like that could have really been the end of it, right? He just doubles down and lies basically because he talked about picking up the deck. He's talking about the TCG in the video, and I'm sure over the course of a long stream, like 7 hours, like you're gonna say some like goofy stuff like over the course of the whole thing. Either you want to like keep the stream entertaining, whatever the case may be. I'm not really here to judge on that, and obviously everyone agrees that's wrong. So you could just been like, oh yeah, like that was a long video, pretty jacked up for me to say that. I'm sorry, obviously cheating's not cool. He's like, okay, like now he's just tweeting, this guy is basically sniping me, it's out of context, which it really wasn't, because it's like that was the context. And then he says cheating in Master Duel is okay, but not the TCG. Okay, like that's already, I think we can all agree, kind of sus. Then like it comes attached to this. He's like apparently like directly talking about Distant Coder here, and like I thought this would be like, oh, this is the video he was referencing, saying I was cheating, kind of like putting it out there and like maybe adding context. But no, this is just like a fully edited, like he grabbed a lot of film for this, like Lord knows he probably paid someone to edit the video, and he just comes attached with this hate video.
Please make sure that you do not harass anyone that is involved in this video. 1.5k likes, 1.6k dislikes. Now if that's not a goddamn ratio, then I don't know what the fuck is. The purpose of this video was absolutely not to put anyone on blast or anything like that. Ratio plus L plus DK has no fucking idea what he's talking about, and he's too much of a pussy to confront me about it. So
I'm seeing.
Okay, like I won't even go into all of it because then it starts to get into his beef with like Farfa, and like that's kind of as far as I want to take it. I don't really care about all the YouTube drama between them, and that's really where I kind of want to end it. But I saw a couple tweets, but it's someone said like, oh, but look, this person accredited him to say that. It's like, do I have to declare Fateful Adventure Effect? It's like, oh, brother, like if you're taking sus advice from a clickbait Yugi Tuber, you gotta figure yourself out a little bit. Like, you gotta learn how to play the game other than just through that. At least that's my opinion. Like, I don't think that's a real, like, that's just lame. You're just trying to, like, rub his face in it, which, I don't know, fair enough, but that's just not a great example, at least to me. And, okay, so I've kind of gone over, we can all agree, like, it was wrong, not cool thing to do. But I think this branches out into two things. Like, this only comes from the fact that the Yu-Gi-Oh game is so complicated, and, like, Konami does not seem interested in making it easier. Like, think about how niche of an interaction Fateful Adventure is. Like, that's like I talked about. That's like cheating, but it's not the most egregious cheating ever. We talk about Pokemon and Magic the Gathering. Cheating is like stacking your deck or something like that. Like, that's pretty much as far as it can go. With Yu-Gi-Oh! Tech so complicated and it's getting more complicated, these things are just going to continue to go on. And I think that's kind of lame, and I don't like that. They basically have fixed it in Rush Duel. And I know it's like, oh, it's sacrilegious to change the design of a Yu-Gi-Oh card. But, like, with text getting, like, longer and longer, like, is it not time to change the way the card looks for having this tiny text box with these very complex rules? Like, is this a trigger? Is this an ignition effect? Like, that again, those things have been fixed in Rush Duels. So it's like, we can't start bringing that over in some capacity because the game is getting so wild. Now, I'm not to say that Yu-Gi-Oh is bad. To me, Yu-Gi-Oh is easily the best trading card game. I've played all three of them now. And, like, it's so fun because there's so many different outcomes from your hands, right? And with more complexity comes more niche rulings like this. But, you know, like I was just talking about, I don't think that Konami's done a good job to curb that complexity with, like, helping players understand, like, the entry barrier for Yu-Gi-Oh is, like, almost untouchable now. Like, I think in synchros, like, you can get someone caught up pretty quick. XYZ, sure. But it's like, now that these rulings are coming up, it's not even just about reading the cards. It's about, like, really understanding what they do. It's like you imperm Mirror Jade. That means it can use its effects next turn. It's like the card forgot because it was negated. Like, that's just, I don't know. To me, I don't like that. The second thing that I wanted to talk about, and okay, so like the Yu-Gi-Oh community is growing like rapidly. Master Duel opened up a valve, even if people aren't even playing Master Duel, right? It's leading to a lot of people getting into the game, and some people do play Master Duel, obviously. But when you start playing Master Duel, like, the more the people are, the more they're gonna be, you know, people of like the young generations. They go to Twitch, so now all these Twitch guys are getting all huge influx. And the thing that I worry about, like, even guys on YouTube, right? When I first started getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I started getting into Yugi Tubing, like, not even making videos, just trying to, like, find the content creators, they had, like, 50,000 subscribers. You know, it was, like, rare to hit 100. Now guys are hitting 300. It's getting even bigger. So with that, I'm scared it's coming into a, like, natural thing on YouTube of Yugi Tuber drama. Like, I feel like there's an Avengers level thing coming up. Like, people are trying to grab power because now, like, there's this whole power thing going on. I think I may be a little dramatic about this, but it feels like we're getting there. Like, there's going to be a Yugi Tuber civil war. Are you on Team Farfa or Team Simo? Like, I can see that, and I can see the content being generated off of it, which I think is so... I just really don't like that. I'm not saying like this one tweet is going to trigger that, but I've been seeing a lot more things about drama between content creators, and a lot of that times it's to farm for views. Now, I'm not saying there can't be a real beef, but I just work in media, like, outside of all of this, and I've seen it so many times, so I worry that that's where Yu-Gi-Oh is going, which is bad because it's like barely even about the game of Yu-Gi-Oh at that point. It's really just the setting for this drama. But let me know what you guys think about this, you know, in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I will see you guys next time.